What if, instead of Omni-Man, it was Conquest who was sent to Earth? One of the most brutal Viltrumites trying to live as a human. This could only go wrong, or could it? In this what if, the mission stays the same, but the choices change everything, and the outcome might put the Empire itself at risk. Conquest is sent to Earth in place of Nolan, but not as a direct conqueror, at least not yet. Thragg makes it clear he must live among humans, observe them, test compatibility, and reproduce. Craig even tries to question the decision, clearly uncomfortable, but a single look from Thragg is enough to silence him instantly. Conquest accepts, but not out of loyalty. He's irritated, seeing it as humiliating to mingle with a species he considers inferior. When he arrives on Earth in 2002, his first instinct isn't to adapt, it's to act as he always has, brutal and direct. He confronts a kaiju without hesitation, destroying everything around him without concern for collateral damage. That's when Cecil enters the scene. Suspicious from the start, Cecil confronts him, but Conquest lies effortlessly, claiming he was sent to protect the planet. Cecil pretends to believe him. He knows something is off, but chooses to play along. When Cecil extends his hand in a gesture of respect, Conquest hesitates for a brief second. That kind of gesture is strange to him, almost offensive, but he accepts it, not out of understanding, but curiosity. Over time, he begins to act as a protector, but everything is calculated. Every heroic act is just an experiment. He's learning how humans work, what they value, how they react. During an attack by the Lizard League on the GDA, Conquest intervenes and ends up saving a young staff member who also works as a tutor for children with special abilities. At first, his interest is purely biological. She's just a potential means to fulfill his mission, but as they interact, something begins to bother Conquest. She isn't weak like he expected. She's intelligent, calm, and treats him with a kindness he doesn't understand, and that unsettles him. Even so, Conquest doesn't change overnight. He remains cold, distant, often even rude, but he starts spending more time with her, not out of attachment, at least that's what he tells himself, but because he wants to understand that strange feeling. Slowly, she begins to break down that barrier, showing him that there's more to life than strength and domination. She's the one who suggests he try to live as a real human, not just pretend to be a hero. She also notices something basic. He doesn't even have a name. After thinking for a bit, she suggests Carl. Conquest finds it simple, almost insignificant, but accepts it. Maybe because it's easy, maybe because it demands nothing from him. He also adopts her last name, becoming Carl Howsam. As a hero, he chooses the name Request, not out of altruism, but because it fits the role he's playing, someone who shows up when called. It's still not kindness, but for the first time, it's not just conquest either. A year passes, and what started as just a mission begins to get complicated. Conquest and April are now married, living on a farm, her idea, trying to calm his brutal side. At first, he sees it as weakness, but over time, he starts hunting, planting, and dealing with simple tasks, things that require patience, something new for him. It doesn't come naturally, but the challenge keeps him engaged. Even so, he doesn't change all at once. The violent impulses and coldness are still there, but now he starts holding them back. Tommy's birth marks a turning point, and later Emma only deepens that internal conflict. Conquest continues acting as a hero and growing closer to the Guardians of the Globe, but it's no longer just an act. It starts to become personal. Everything changes when Tommy, at age 7, awakens his Viltrumite powers. The mission is complete. Humans are compatible. With no way out, Conquest tells April the truth. The plan was always to conquer the planet, but now there's something in the way, the life he built. April doesn't force anything. She simply tells him to choose. And for the first time, Conquest truly does. He abandons the Empire. Sometime later, Emma also awakens her powers, and Conquest takes on a new role, training his children not to conquer, but to protect. By his father's side, Tommy and Emma grow up helping protect the planet, and for years, everything seems under control. But that was never going to last forever. 10 years later, someone finally arrives on Earth. Alan. Having never appeared in this timeline before, he comes to investigate, and Conquest is sent to intercept. The moment Alan sees the mustache, he already knows what he's dealing with, a Viltrumite. and the two clash. The fight isn't even close. Conquest easily overwhelms Alan, but something changes at the last second. He doesn't finish him. Alan notices immediately. A Viltrumite sparing someone? That doesn't make sense. So instead of continuing the fight, they talk. Conquest reveals he abandoned the Empire and now protects Earth, something that genuinely surprises Alan but doesn't fully convince him. Conquest isn't naive. He knows this time of peace is ending, that more Viltrumites will arrive sooner or later. Alan then proposes an alliance with the coalition of planets. Conquest doesn't accept right away, but he doesn't refuse either. And before leaving, he reveals something crucial. There are only 50 Viltrumites left. Alan returns and tells everything to Thetis, who is shocked. He knew the old Conquest, the most bloodthirsty of them all, and now he's protecting a planet? That opens up a real possibility of turning the tide against the Empire, especially with this new information. But not everything goes as planned. The information leaks. Alan is captured and brutally beaten to reveal Conquest's location. By the time Thetis finds out, it's already too late, and he responds in kind. He sends 2 Viltrumites straight to Earth with a single order: capture and execute the traitor, Grand Nolan and Lucan. And just like that, Conquest's peace comes to an end. Conquest intensifies his children's training, knowing that despite their potential, they're still too young to face what's coming. He tries to maintain the routine on the farm as if there's still time, until a few days later, while working in the fields, a voice echoes behind him. "Stand ready for my arrival, worm." As he turns, he already knows who it is. Nolan and Lucan, standing side by side. Conquest tries to avoid the confrontation, telling them to leave and making it clear he doesn't want to hurt them. Nolan doesn't even consider it. He reminds Conquest that he disobeyed direct orders and now he'll be executed as a traitor. There's no room for negotiation. The two advance and the fight begins. The impact spreads for miles. The battle is so intense it quickly draws global attention, appearing on broadcasts and phones. That's how Tommy and Emma find out. Without hesitation, they fly to the scene and join the fight. Conquest is still the strongest there, but facing 2 experienced Viltrumites takes its toll. With his children's arrival, the fight starts to even out. Seizing an opening, Conquest decides to focus on Nolan, knowing he's the greatest threat. The two clash at full force, rising beyond the atmosphere, trading blows that send blood scattering through space. Neither of them holds back. At a critical moment, Nolan manages to restrain Conquest and tries to suffocate him, almost repeating what we've seen before, but this time it's different. One of the children intervenes just in time, striking Nolan and breaking his hold. Realizing the disadvantage, Nolan retreats and orders Lucan to do the same. The two leave the planet, accepting they've failed, for now. On Earth, the children celebrate the victory, but Conquest doesn't. He knows exactly what this means. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning. Now, there's no more doubt. He decides to fully ally himself with the coalition of planets. Meanwhile, on Viltrum, Nolan and Lucan report their failure. Conquest wasn't alone, and his children are more dangerous than expected. Thragg listens in silence, clearly dissatisfied. Then, with a cold sigh, he makes his decision. This time, he'll go after the traitor himself. A month passes since the brutal victory against the Viltrumites, but peace never feels complete. Conquest watches over Earth in silence, as if still expecting the next attack at any moment. He's changed, but not all at once. That cold instinct is still there, that heavy presence that keeps everyone around him on edge. Meanwhile, Alan finally recovers and arrives on Earth in Pykel's ship, bringing direct news. The war isn't over. It's just beginning. Conquest immediately senses something is off. Alan is different, bigger, denser, more dangerous, and when Alan explains what happened, it becomes clear that he too has crossed a line with no way back. Even with all of this, Conquest decides to leave on his own. Part of him believes he's still a risk to anyone who stays by his side, and maybe it's easier to carry that weight without involving his family. But his children refuse. They stand up to their own father, firm, saying that Earth is theirs too, and they won't stand by and watch everything be destroyed. For a moment, the old Conquest almost reacts with force, But he stops. He realizes this isn't rebellion, it's choice. And that shifts something in him, even if only slightly. Before he can respond, more arrive. The Guardians of the Globe show up, determined. April told them everything. They know who Conquest was and who he's trying to become. Even without the same level of power, they make it clear they'll fight. And that weighs more than any battle. For the first time in a long time, Conquest isn't alone, and that unsettles him more than any enemy. At the farewell, the atmosphere grows heavy. Conquest looks at April longer than usual, as if trying to memorize that moment. She cries, but she doesn't back down. She says she's proud, not of who he was, but of the effort he's been making, even if he fails sometimes. Conquest doesn't respond right away, something rare for him. Then he simply nods, still carrying doubts he can't fully hide. They move closer in a simple gesture, almost too restrained for what they feel, because deep down, they both know this might be the last time. Without another word, Conquest turns away. His children follow, and the ship departs towards Tlesria, leaving behind not just Earth, but the version of himself that was still trying to understand whether he truly deserved to save it. During the journey, the atmosphere on the ship is far from light. Conquest's children train with the Guardians of the Globe and improve quickly, while he observes more than he participates. Sometimes he corrects them, but without the harshness he once had. Even so, when he trains alone, he slips back into his old movements, more brutal, as if he can't fully let go of who he used to be. Alan notices this and offers him a coalition suit. Conquest hesitates for a moment, but accepts it, putting it on without much thought, even though it means more than he lets on. The trip continues without any ambushes, which only increases the tension. Thrag wouldn't stay silent without a reason, so the calm feels deliberate. When they arrive at Tlesria, his children get excited exploring the planet, but Conquest goes straight to the point. Upon meeting the leader of the coalition, he recognizes him immediately, Thetis, a former Viltrumite, and a traitor. The tension rises, but unlike before, Conquest doesn't attack, he listens. The two discuss strategies until Thetis asks for privacy and takes him to a hidden location. There, he reveals the virus, an even more advanced version. Conquest reacts instantly, grabbing Thetis by the throat, furious, questioning how he could even consider using it again. Thetis doesn't deny it. He admits it was his greatest mistake, but says he would use it again if it were the last option. Conquest hesitates for a second before letting him go, clearly disturbed, stating that he will find another way, without exterminating what remains of his people. On the way back, a thunderous impact cuts through the air. Both react immediately and fly outside, only to see a massive Viltrumite ship dominating the skies of Tlesria, while several of them are already attacking the planet. And in that moment, it becomes clear. Thragg didn't avoid the fight. He was just waiting for the right moment to strike. Craig charges forward without hesitation, cutting down coalition soldiers as if they were nothing, until he stops and asks in a cold tone, "Where is the animal?" The answer comes instantly. A brutal impact. Conquest appears and lands a direct hit, staring him down. Here. The fight begins intensely, but it quickly becomes clear that Conquest is on another level. He presses, dominates, gives no room. Meanwhile, Thetis faces Anissa and Lucan at the same time, being pushed to his limits with every exchange of blows. Elsewhere on the battlefield, Immortal and the Guardians hold off Thula. The numerical advantage makes a difference, and even with her strength, they manage to keep up, especially Immortal and Warwoman, who maintain constant pressure. Meanwhile, Tommy and Emma face something far worse. Nolan. The clash is heavy from the start, and at one point he nearly kills Emma, only failing because Conquest intervenes in time, striking Nolan and delivering a cold command. Fight like Viltrumites, not like heroes. Here, it's kill or be killed. Emma hesitates, clearly shaken, but Tommy understands. In that moment, it's not about choice. When Nolan tries to attack again, Tommy goes all in, striking him and holding him back, declaring that he would never touch his sister again. At the same time, Emma is intercepted by Vidor, and only manages to stay in the fight thanks to Alan, who steps in to even the odds. Amid the chaos, Craig still tries to recover, but it's too late. One opening is all Conquest needs. Without hesitation, he finishes the former general in a brutal way, ending the fight for good. Breathing heavily, he rises, ready to continue, until he feels something different, a presence. A shadow falls behind him. Conquest slowly turns, and then he sees him, Thragg, the regent of the Viltrumites, finally there. Meanwhile, the other battles begin to settle, but only for a moment. Emma and Alan manage to defeat Vidor, and Thetis finally knocks out Lucan, though he's still locked in an intense fight against the Nissa. The Guardians also take down Thula after a combined effort, but the sense of relief lasts only seconds. Reinforcements arrive. 2 more Viltrumites enter the battlefield and attack without giving any space, striking both Emma and Alan as well as the Guardians, instantly reigniting the chaos. On the other side, Tommy faces the hardest fight of his life. He still tries to suffocate Nolan, holding on with everything he has, while Nolan begins to panic as he can't break free. With no options left, he changes, becoming more brutal. In a swift motion, he drives his hand straight through Tommy. Even then, Tommy doesn't let go. The pain doesn't make him back down, it only makes him tighten his grip. Both collapse to the ground. Nolan doesn't die, only loses consciousness, and Tommy, already at his limit, can barely speak, begging for help before passing out. Further away, the clash between leaders begins. Thragg faces Conquest coldly, saying that all of this is pointless, that he is still a son of Viltrum. Conquest fires back immediately, stating that Viltrum gave him nothing but pain, loneliness, and a mind shaped by force. Thragg still offers him a chance to return, to surrender, to reclaim his place. For a moment, the silence grows heavy, but the answer is already clear. Refusing, the two stand face to face. Thragg lets out a short sigh, almost disappointed, saying he expected him to listen to reason, and then he attacks. The impact sends Conquest flying through the city, destroying everything in his path. He only avoids going further because he manages to defend himself in time, even while feeling the weight of the blow. And in that moment, it becomes clear. This fight is completely different from all the others. Thaddeus finally manages to defeat Anissa, and as he lifts his gaze, he sees exactly what he feared: Conquest facing Thragg. Without wasting a second, he moves in and lands a surprise blow that only pushes the regent back for a moment. Thragg looks at Thaddeus coldly, promising he will pay for the Emperor's death. Thaddeus doesn't respond right away, he simply exchanges a glance with Conquest. Nothing needed to be said, they both understood the same truth. They wouldn't leave that fight alive, but they could still finish it. The two charge together at Thragg, who effortlessly dodges several attacks and then tries to gain altitude, but something holds him back. Martian Man restrains his legs, using his abilities to immobilize him for a second. That's enough. Immortal flies up into space and crashes down with everything he has, delivering a devastating blow that earns nothing more than a smile from Thragg, with a thin line of blood running down his face. He laughs, calling humans pathetic, and retaliates without hesitation. He tears Immortal in half and rips off Martian Man's hands as if they were nothing. But the assault doesn't stop. When Thragg tries to react again, his hand passes through empty space. Green Ghost turns intangible and phases through him, forcing his body to react and dropping him to one knee for a moment. That truly irritates him and creates another opening. Warwoman launches him upward with her mace, barely dealing damage but enough to lift him off the ground, and Aquarius follows with a blast that sends him even higher. At that point, everyone understands the plan. Thetis and Conquest launch themselves at the same time. A tornado created by Red Rush accelerates them even further, while an explosion from Darkwing propels their final push. They reach Thragg, grab his arms, and keep rising faster and faster into space, straight toward the sun of Tlesria. Thragg struggles, resists, slows their ascent, but he can't stop it. Within seconds, the three of them reach the surface of Tlesria's sun. The heat is overwhelming, the pressure crushing, but none of them back down. Thragg looks at them and declares they are fools for thinking they can defeat him and survive. Conquest answers firmly that he's wrong. They can win, they just won't make it out alive. And that's when the real plan begins. Conquest and Thetis charge together, striking Thragg over and over, not to defeat him there, but to push him deeper and deeper into the star. Thragg is still superior, retaliating with brutal force, and the three begin tearing each other apart right there. With every second, their skin burns, their flesh breaks down, but no one stops. Conquest, already at his limit, declares that he will kill Thragg to protect Earth and the entire universe, even if it costs his life. Thetis hears him, and for a moment almost seems to agree, before saying those are beautiful words. But wrong. Before Conquest can understand, Thetis shoves him out of the star. He says he has already lived too long, and now it's Conquest's turn to live. Thragg tries to stop him, piercing Thetis without hesitation, but even so, Thetis holds on to the Regent and pushes forward, taking them both straight into the core. The last thing Conquest sees is an explosion of light, consuming everything, before losing consciousness in Alan's arms, who rescues him just in time. Weeks later, Conquest wakes up. His body is shattered, covered in burns, surrounded by doctors. Confused, he asks about Thragg, but his daughter calms him, saying it's over. They won. Shortly after, Tommy enters, still injured, covered in bandages, but alive. The two exchange a dry, almost automatic remark even in that state. Then Alan appears, now as the leader of the coalition. He thanks Conquest for his sacrifice and explains that for now, there is peace, but it's unstable. Without Thragg, the Viltrumites have spread across the universe without leadership, including Nolan and Anissa. In the final scene, now recovered, Conquest returns to Earth and reunites with April. He tells her he did it, that he defeated what threatened to destroy everything he loved. She smiles, emotional, and the two kiss. But it doesn't end there. Elsewhere on the planet, a man walks through a crowd wearing a lab coat. Nolan. In silence, he swears revenge for his regent. After bumping into someone, he helps a woman pick up her belongings. She looks at him, curious, and asks his name. He answers, Nolan. She smiles and says, Debbie.